everybody gather near. The doctor's in the house, so lend him your ear. The things he can say might even make your day. He might even help your pain go away. The doctor is in the house. The doctor is in the house. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. I'm sure he can tell you just what to do. The doctor is in the house. Doctor is in the house. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. The doctor is in the house.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the doctor is in the house. Welcome, everyone, to Dr. Ron, Unfiltered, Uncensored, our 447th episode here on Podbean. And I do welcome you with an attitude of gratitude, and I love all our listeners. I just am very humbled at the play we're getting all over the world this week. United States, Australia, Ireland, United Kingdom, Brazil, Sweden, and Germany and Spain. We're getting downloads at Apple Podcasts, the Podbean app, Google Chrome, Samsung Podcasts, Spotify. It's just blowing my mind, ladies and gentlemen. We're also on something called Overcast, Castro, along with Rumble and BitChute. And if everything goes right today, we will be honored to have Dr. William Wong on, basically to discuss what he wants to discuss. But I think we're going to talk about bioidentical hormones. And we're going to continue the trend that we started over a month ago with episode 338, and that was Our Doctors Keeping Us Healthy. We then had Dr. Wong, and we talked about naturopathic versus Rockefeller medicine. Rockefeller put $100 million into medicine in 1910 to make sure that the pharmaceutical companies and the petroleum dollars were used well. And we talked about normal blood tests. Then we had Phil Safier come in and give us tips on breathing so we could get into a more parasympathetic healing state, not the caveman fight or flight state. And then we went on to talk about the vagus nerve, how that nerve innervates all the important organs of our body and how we can stimulate the vagus nerve to get into that parasympathetic area. We talked about medical errors as the leading cause of death and had a real-life experience from a woman who was in the hospital and the hospital nearly killed her. Then we talked about toxins and fragrances and why that's important for you to know what's in these products, because your skin is your largest organ. And you get out of a shower, you're hot, and all this gets absorbed. So that's our plan, if everything goes right, when Dr. Wong gets here. And I want to just tell you why this is even more important today than ever, because doctors now are the third leading cause of death, and we have to have ways to protect ourselves from this third leading cause of death. And we know that there's a big gap between scientific evidence and when things change and are actually used in patient care. And you know that new knowledge has a delay of 17 years. Does that irritate you as much as it irritates me? 17 years. So we have to care now. You have to be the CEO of your own body. You have the right to ask questions and get answers before anything is done to it. And how about toxins? Same thing there. You know, it not only harms the environment, but it harms our bodies. And then consider electromagnetic fields. and how nobody is really taking it seriously. Nobody is taking electromagnetic fields seriously. And I'm convinced more and more every day that the new and not so new that were used by the ancients years ago, those modalities from light therapy to melatonin, plant medicine, acupuncture, these modalities are on the verge of becoming very essential and less stressful, especially since we know that healthcare spending increased from 2.69 trillion to 3.07 trillion between the years of 2016 and 2019. Spendings on most medical conditions are rising, led by influenza. Non-medical expenses are rising. Consumer out-of-pocket health costs are rising. So we have to take things into our own hands. The hospitals are a great place to be for emergencies. But medical care is not health care. Medical care is not health care. For instance, how many of your doctors have told you that a 10-minute shower is like drinking 20 glasses of chlorine? And that everything is about frequencies and vibrations and universal love. You don't hear that. And that happiness has to be a lifestyle for us. Otherwise, we're going to get sick. And we're going to form scar tissue. And that will lead to more negative thoughts. And then we eat processed foods, more negative thoughts. And then when we are in that flight or fight mode, that caveman brain, we have fear. We have the release of cortisol and adrenaline. That leads to an acidic environment. People with acid environments and acid blood are prone to cancer. And they don't have as much of the love chemicals. What are they? Serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine. So we have to get out of that caveman mentality. And that leads to the cause of most chronic diseases. Inflammation, low self-esteem, you have low value of yourself, leads to inflammation and fibrosis. So, love and forgiveness, huh? So everything in our universe has a frequency and a vibration. That's called energy. All living things are composed of energy. And what we have to learn more about is vibrational medicine. And vibrational medicine practitioners have known this and know that disease and suffering are actually disruption of energy fields. That's one of the bases of acupuncture. And a unique brand, which is not really so unique, but it's more popular now, of healing is one that uses frequencies and vibrations to enhance our body's ability to heal. Is it magic? No, but it works like magic. But it's taking into account the physical, emotional, and spiritual healing. So this is what really is healthy. Health is not feeling good because you're taking 10 different drugs. And one or two of those drugs is to counteract the effects of one or two others that you're taking. So everything from electromagnetic fields, traumas, toxins, they can cause energy blockages. So we have to have updated tools and methods to heal ourselves. Homeopathy will be making a comeback. It's an energy tool. Grounding. I mean, that the hug a tree effort really has something to it. We absorb so many electrons from the ground when we are grounded. It's really healing. Infrared light therapy, the red light in the area of 670 nanometers, 685 nanometers. And Phil Safier talks about humming while you're breathing. Vibrational humming like the Gregorian chants and the yogis do. And plants are living things. They have a vibration to them. And that's why they are so healing. Energy blockages, my friends, can cause disruptions. If you have disruptions, you have health issues. And I can tell you, cancer, how many autoimmune diseases now? It used to be 20 years ago, maybe 12% of the population. Now it's around 54% of the population has some form of autoimmune disease, leaky gut. How many times are your friends saying, boy, I just have a hard time sleeping? How many are moody? And how many have health challenges and they go to their doctor and he says, well, all your tests are normal. Must be your head. Well, did they check to see if you're electromagnetic tolerant or if you have a disturbance, how electromagnetic fields affect your body? Do they ask you about what products you use to put on your skin, if they have any of the fragrances we talked about 2 weeks ago? So vibrational healing. There's Dr. Jerry Smith up in Pennsylvania. He does a lot of this and getting great results. And we have to know that there's a link from our gut to our emotions, to our immune dysfunctions. We have to realize that our negative thoughts, when we're in a bad mood, they can impact our genetic expression. Most of our genes that affect our how we perform are epigenetic expressions. In other words, only about 8% of our genes determine what we're going to be. We have a 92% chance of changing the others with lifestyle changes. So we are in an absolute health crisis, right? How do you say it? We ingest tons of toxins. We get those toxins not only from the chemicals, the 80-some thousand chemicals with no real strict testing of them. Look how long Roundup has been on the market. They're just getting around to winding up those law cases, right? But how many people have gotten cancer and other diseases from Roundup called glyphosate? Prescription drugs, cleaning products, polluted air, our food supply. We have a lot to fight off. And chronic diseases continue to climb unchecked. And what a sad state of affairs we are in when parents are soon expected to outlive their children. No wonder a lot of people are going back to nature and investigating natural ways and natural solutions for their health problems. So, it looks like Dr. Wong might not have been able to make it. He did have some conflicts. So we'll use this as an introduction to when he can make it. And we were going to talk a little bit about hormones because hormones are affected by the toxins. We were going to talk about estrogen and insulin and how they can affect your health. And the effects of hormone imbalance can be infertility, weight gain, depression, fatigue, insomnia, a low sex drive, hair loss or hair thinning. And, organs and glands like your thyroid, your adrenals, pituitary, ovaries, your testicles, and your pancreas, they regulate most of your hormone production. And if they become imbalanced, you have a health issue, sometimes a major health issue. And remember, for the past 2 years during the China virus pandemic, I've talked about a superior interior, that you have to have good gut health, and I recommended Megaspore without any remuneration from that company, just because I believe in it and my whole family takes it. But gut health has a significant role in hormone regulation too. Besides your gut having probably around 80 to 85% of your immune function, it has something to do with hormone regulation. If you have a leaky gut, or a lack of the probiotics, your intestinal wall will become leaky and can cause this hormone imbalance. But today, because of the synthetic treatments people are getting, they are now dependent on prescription drugs for the rest of their lives, and they mask the symptoms, and they could have side effects. So we wanted to talk to Dr. Wong about natural hormone replacement, right? Things like eating coconut oil and avocados. Certain herbs have a great effect on your hormones. The ratio of your omega-3 to 6 fatty acids, okay? And we'll probably have a good discussion on fish oils versus plant oils. I'm a believer in the parent essential oils as proposed by Brian Peskin, and that fish oils are no more than antifreeze for deep water fish. And by the time they come to the surface, they are poisonous. But the right balance of omega-3 to omega-6 is important, and we have to heal that leaky gut. If leaky gut has if it plays a part in hormone disruption, then we have to figure out a way to treat that. And as I said a couple of weeks ago when I talked about the body care products, well, our kitchen and our body care products, we have to know what is good and what is bad for us. And I have recommended for years the Environmental Working Group, EWG. They evaluated 72,000 products and they rank them. You should really take a look at that. And interval training, burst training, like Dr. Wong has told you on our podcast on exercise. It's really important not only to exercise, but have bursts of exercise. Okay, because people that say, well, I walk 4 miles, but they walk at a pace that takes them 18 hours to walk this 4 miles. And then they are called for an emergency and they have to burst to that emergency and they have a heart attack. And everybody said, well, gosh, he walks all those miles. But you have to have periods of intense exercise. And we talked about sleep. We talk about that a lot. You need good restorative sleep. And that can affect your hormones. Drinking too much coffee, caffeine can affect your hormones. But as we've also talked about, coffee is really a longevity drink. So then how about the things that can just kill you? There's so many ways. These endocrine disruptors, what they can do to your body. So not only we have to talk about how to heal your body's hormones normally, but what to avoid so you don't get those hot flashes. Maybe there are chemicals that you want to get out of your diet. Maybe there's some lifestyle changes you want to make. Maybe there's some changes in your environment. Maybe you want to get rid of those non-organic produce, those plastic bottles, unfiltered water. There's air fresheners and candles and hand soaps that have all kinds of volatile organic chemicals or EDCs, endocrine disruptive chemicals. They affect your hormones. And Dr. Wong is an expert in phytoestrogens. He's written a book on that. Perhaps the worst phytoestrogen food that people eat is soy. But I think Dr. Wong would say flaxseed. But flax and soy right up there with the amount of estrogen they contain. And they're also genetically modified, and they have glyphosate as a drying agent. So that'll affect your hormones. And synthetic hormones may not be the way to go, and we'll let Dr. Wong talk about that when we get him back on. So we want to try and take things in our own hands, try to heal things more naturally. And we don't want to be dependent on petroleum-based prescription drugs for the rest of our lives that just mask our symptoms and don't solve a darn thing. So today we were going to talk about our endocrine system, what it is, what it does, and how to heal it. And there are so many things that we can do to prevent our hormones from going crazy. And remember, I told you about this before. I just want to mention it again since I see it in my notes. These receipts that are printed on thermal paper, they contain BPA. That's that BPA that's found in plastics. It can imitate estrogen, linked to breast cancer, reproductive problems, obesity. So don't touch those thermal receipts with damp fingers. It's even worse. It gets absorbed right away. And those non-stick pans, they contain perfluorinated chemicals, which again are endocrine disruptors. And guess what they lead to? If you're making your eggs in one of these synthetic coated pans, non-stick pans, you got a blood test, your doctor will say, well, your cholesterol's up, get rid of the eggs. Well, you know what? It might be more the non-stick coating than the eggs responsible for your high cholesterol. So maybe you say, well, you know what? I'm not going to have eggs. I'm going to have healthy fruit. Well, not so fast. Because relying on the EWG, the Environmental Working Group, fruit may be coated with pesticides. In fact, apples top the EWG's Dirty Dozen list, along with strawberries. Drinking water, we all know that's contaminated. And it also has lots of drugs in it. Cleaning products we've talked about. So that's where we are. Not only we're not taking the right products to balance our hormone system, we're ingesting products that disrupt it. Endocrine disruptors. And they affect men and women at the same time. But we all need a balance. It's called homeostasis. Okay, both male and female hormones have to be in a balance. And if you disrupt that balance with these endocrine disruptors, for instance, you can throw the whole hormone production that's usually on autopilot completely out of whack. But if you're not aware that poor diet, stress, toxins are some disruptors, then you're behind the curve. How many people are craving for sweets? Well, that's a cortisol deficiency a lot of times. Constipation, low body temperature, high cholesterol, brittle nails, that could be your thyroid. That's another hormone that gets beat up, especially if you have a yeast infection. The yeast syndrome does slow up your thyroid. Well, Dr. Broda Barnes said that, 30 years ago. Nobody paid attention. Diet, lifestyle, and environment, ladies and gentlemen. Diet, lifestyle, and environment. Can directly affect how our bodies produce hormones. Okay, well, I don't want to steal anything away from Dr. Wong. So we'll call it a day and just leave this podcast as a introduction to a full podcast on natural hormone therapy. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Ron, host of Dr. Ron Unfiltered, Uncensored. Dr. Ron, Unfiltered, Uncensored. Listed by FeedSpot in the top 25 doctors' podcasts on the internet. And as I said in the beginning of the program, I'm very humbled by the number of people downloading our shows every week. So we'll try for Dr. Wong again. In the meantime, have a great time. Have an attitude of gratitude and make happiness your lifestyle.
Hey everybody, Dr. Ron's finished for today. I hope you got some good wisdom for what the man has to say. If it's all about good health, he's the man you got to see. He has a lot more answers for you. So tune in next week when the doctor is in the house. Or when the doctor is in the house. And let the doctor know what's bothering you. When the doctor is in the house, the doctor is in the house, the doctor is in the house. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. I'm sure he can tell you just what to do. The doctor is in the house, the doctor is in the house. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. When the doctor is in the house. So if you have a pain, call the doctor. If you have a strain, call the doctor. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. When the doctor is in the house. The doctor is in the house. See you next week. Hey everybody, Dr. Ron's finished for today.